And we want to welcome back Paul Seegert. He is the managing partner at PCS Advisors, and that's a benefits consulting firm with 35 partner offices across the country. And Paul is going to talk to us this morning about Amazon's acquisition of One Medical. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. How are you today?
Doing well. So, Paul, let's break it down. Apparently there's been a deal that was announced last Thursday between Amazon and One Medical. I think we need to kind of inform folks what One Medical is.
One Medical was a startup company out of San Francisco that was a primary care company, and they marketed their service to employers, and they have 8,000 employer clients where it's kind of incorporated into that employer's health plan that One Medical would provide the primary care benefits and do a lot of that virtually. So kind of a telemedicine program, but on steroids, where they would do some virtual visits, some in-person visits. They had clinics around the country in various markets. And Amazon has offered to buy One Medical for $3.9 billion. And, so it's kind of raised some interesting questions because Amazon already has so much information about consumers, and it's not their first attempt to get into the healthcare business, or their first, you can't necessarily say attempts because they've succeeded in getting into healthcare with Amazon Pharmacy, PillPack, Amazon Care, which was their own version of One Medical, basically. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the play here, is that Amazon Care had a few employer clients, but One Medical has 8,000 employer clients. So that's a way that they can scale that part of their business up pretty aggressively, and you can see where it could feed into the other parts of Amazon's existing business.
And is One Medical the type of place that has like a portal for the patients or the employees, I guess, to go into, and all of their medical records and everything is there? Yeah,
they would house your information there. And that's kind of part of the question that's being raised is, now I'm sure, Amazon's intention is to follow the rules in terms of HIPAA and privacy, but you could follow the rules and it could still make folks uncomfortable to know that when they it'll be interesting to see how this impacts people when they log into their Amazon account. Are they going to get suggestions of things to purchase based on their health status, which wouldn't necessarily be done right, wouldn't necessarily be in violation of HIPAA, but it's a big change to think that an organization like Amazon that already has so much information about you and your habits and so on could also be involved in this part of your life.
They're going to. I mean,
I would think so. Yeah.
They have Alexa. They know everything that you're buying, and even if you're even if you're close to your phone and you mention something, all of a sudden you get advertisements for whatever it is. So yes.
Yeah. And you know what? That's something that's really puts it in perspective for me as to how big of a change this could be for all of us. I mean, we're living through amazing times in terms of how things change and how quickly they change, and the pace of change only gets faster. And when you think about healthcare, to this point, healthcare has, for the most part, been a pretty regional business. And the change the kind of change that could occur here is really massive as far as how the system works. If you look at the largest traditional healthcare system in the country, that's HCA, they only touch 1% of Americans, and they're the largest healthcare system in the country. And then you look at Amazon and consider the fact that 44% of Americans have an Amazon Prime membership. Mm-hmm. The implications are massive as to how this really could grow.
Now, is One Medical, explain this to me, is it something that is offered, say, by, I don't know, Blue Cross or something, or your healthcare provider at your work, or is it an entity in of itself, like a insurance company?
Well, it's an entity in and of itself. It's really a provider group, a primary care provider group, but just offering that service in a way that uses technology more.
Oh.
And it also, when you get into some of these larger self-funded employer plans, they are oftentimes going to be working with a consultant to build a plan where they're pulling all the various pieces together in a way that they feel will be more efficient and better from a cost standpoint and a quality standpoint. So in some of these larger self-funded plans, they may engage One Medical to provide the primary care for everyone in the plan.
Okay.
And in doing so, they, oftentimes the belief is that good primary care can help people live a healthier life and prevent ER visits that wouldn't have to happen if someone was doing the right things, and so on.
Well, I guess the thing that sends up multi-red flags for probably a lot of people is that if you are... It looks like One Medical does virtual doctor visits and all of those kind of things. They have access to everything that is all about you. That's just scary stuff to me.
Yeah, I think some people are going to welcome it. Probably younger people are going to welcome it more so than some of us. And then the rest, there is going to be some uncomfortable things to deal with. And I think there's also going to be some new legal questions that come up that will have to get resolved, and there are some folks who are speaking up about looking at this from an antitrust perspective and saying, "Hey, is this reasonable?"
That's what I was
It's something that handles a company handling so much.
That's what I was going to ask you about, the kind of pushback that has come about once they announced this acquisition, kind of along the same lines as Elon Musk and Twitter. I mean, is there significant pushback, or is this a done deal?
I think it's not. I don't think it's a done deal yet. So this will be very interesting. We're absolutely watching it closely. It's pretty well, in most industries, consolidation can lead to, when done properly, it can lead to more efficiency and better value for consumers. We don't really see that in healthcare. We don't have enough transparency for that to occur. And there's plenty of evidence that shows that consolidation in healthcare actually drives up cost. When you look at, say, large hospital systems going into rural markets and consolidate and, purchasing up the hospitals or the provider groups and so on, we then watch and prices go up in those markets 7, 8, 9 points. It doesn't take long. So it doesn't, when there's a lack of transparency, you can't just count on everyone behaving well. And that's, when I look at the history of what Amazon has done related to healthcare, one of the first things they tried to do was partner up with J.P. Morgan, Chase, Berkshire Hathaway, and Amazon. The three of them were going to get together, solve healthcare, build a plan that they could offer to their own employees because it's such a massive expense to their companies, and then perhaps market that broadly. And they had big visions of what they might accomplish, and they failed. They went up against this massive medical industrial complex that we have that makes a lot of people a lot of money and operates with a serious lack of transparency and has very powerful lobbying. And I think what happened there, my impression is that what they took away from that was, if you can't beat them, join them. And then when you look at the subsequent entries that they've made into healthcare, they've been good for Amazon. They haven't really necessarily driven down cost and created efficiencies for consumers. Amazon Pharmacy is a good example of that. It hasn't made drugs cheaper for Americans, but it has created another source of revenue for Amazon. And I'm a free market person. I'm a capitalist. So I'm not saying that with any kind of anger. I'm just observing that, saying that would be my expectation here. It's not necessarily going to be about bringing serious efficiencies that drive down cost to the consumer. It might bring more convenience, and that has value. But I haven't seen that Amazon's priority was to disrupt healthcare, more so to be able to become a part of this highly profitable sector.
I just don't like one entity having more about me than I've got about me. I mean,
right.
I don't like them having
the algorithm.
And then you crawl into my healthcare stuff. It's like, no, you're one bad employee away from blowing up the world, and it's just, I'm sure it's just me, but it's like, nah, I want a power outage to last about a month, and everybody have to go back to walking to the bank and everything else and get away from all this stuff. I mean, I'm just tired of it. I spend days answering phone calls because I asked a question online about solar energy, or had a conversation in my own house about my back hurting, and next thing you know, some Alexa chick's hooking me up with back medicine, and they're calling me 25 times a day. It's just
incredible.
Yeah, it's just too much of an invasion on my life to where I just don't enjoy any of it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to keep watching this.
A lot of peaks have.
We will have to keep watching this. Paul, we'll turn to you. We will, I guess we'll wait and see what happens here, but it is to some of us very alarming, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, we have been speaking this morning once again to Paul Seegert. He is managing partner at PCS Advisors. Paul, where might our listeners find you?
PCSadvisors.com with an ERS.
All right. Paul Seegert, thanks once again.